What up, everybody? My name is Brandon, also known as Kiddo Crew, and today I'm going to talk to you about Thousand Suns Relics. On the background, you see a really old game between a pure Night Lords list that I was running and a Custodes list. I had a lot of fun that game, and there's a couple of just mental errors of inexperience that cost me it, but it's alright. It's a good game to watch, and you should be able to see about what's going on throughout the video. If that's what you're interested in, it's on YouTube. Check it out. So we're going to talk about the many Thousand Suns relics that are out there. Thousand Suns are sort of a hot topic right now. People, along with Grey Knights, who are much more straightforward type of codex, are trying to figure out Thousand Suns because there's such a complex codex of how it needs to be ran to be efficient. Because there's so many different options, and when you have different options, knowing the right answer at any single moment makes the big difference between a pro and a novice, like myself. But either way, we're going to go over what I think is the current tier list for the Thousand Suns relics. So starting off with the meme tier. So this tier is so bad that if you're just memeing on people. The reason why is they're either direct downgrades or they don't serve a purpose almost at all. So let's start off with the weapons. First, we have the Staff Abominus. Now this staff replaces your Force Staff, and it is strength +3, -1 AP, doubles your attacks, which is cool, and then it goes to 1 damage. So you go take it on an Exalted, 5 attacks. It goes to 10 attacks, but they're all 1 damage. Do you know who else has 10 attacks at better AP, at almost equal strength? A single Khorne Berserker Aspiring Champion. It's not impressive at all. There's nothing that ignores -1 damage, which is good. But at the same time, at AP 1, you're not going to, anything that has armor, you're not going to want to touch this with. Incubi will live through this. You're winning Incubi on 2s, and Incubi will still live through this because of their 3-up armor. Unless you're going against someone who loves to play witches, this thing's just not worth it. The next one that I have here is Skalag's Talon, which is super neat. Double your strength, so it goes to strength 8, 2d3 damage. Pretty cool. AP 0. I can't name a toughness 4 target that doesn't have a save for this to matter against. The only thing that doesn't have a save at toughness 4 are Poxwalkers, and Zangor, who have their 5-up invul. Do you need help killing Poxwalkers or Zangor? We have Horde killing in droves. AP 0 means that anything in power armor just laughs at you. I don't understand. I don't understand why this relic's in here at all. So the next two in this category are just, they don't have great use at all. One is the Change Wrought Chalice, which is a Zangor Shaman only relic. So if you like Zangor Shaman, it's cool. So this lets you know another power on that Zangor Shaman. Do you know what it doesn't let you do? It doesn't let you cast another power on that Zangor Shaman. So you're taking a relic, probably costing you a CP, so that you can then pay a CP to cast maybe this one spell that you need on him. If you need the flexibility of adding another spell to your Zangor Shaman, pay a CP during the game, change his smite to any of the ones that he knows. There you go. It's so much better to do it that way. I don't understand these 4 relics, I don't understand why they're in here at all. This last one is the Perfidious Tome. Now this is the Cult of Duplicity specific relic, which I think is amazing because Cult of Duplicity is argued as probably the best or all-round most powerful cult magic right now. And this relic is ridiculous. During your command phase, roll a dice. On a 4-up, you get a command point. If you roll a 1, your opponent gets a command point. that can cost you the game. 1 CP here, 2 CP there, that can definitely determine the outcome of the game. So not only if you roll a 1 do you not get the command point, but then your opponent gets it, that's absolutely ridiculous. And if you're thinking about taking it, I need to ask you why. There's no why. You're literally chancing the entire game on every single time you roll it. And with 5 turns, chances are you're going to roll it. And don't think it'll never happen to you. Ask Sisters of Battle players how many times their Celestine haven't gotten up. Like, normally it does, but they're still salty about that time last week when it didn't. So that's what we have in the meme tier. We're moving on to the C tier, where I call this you could, but why? The Helm of the Demon's Eye, it generates a CP, sort of like the Perfidious Tome, on a 5+. No downside, just on 5+ get a CP. Not the worst thing in the world. We have a reliable way to get a CP every game. Like every turn. 4 Cabal points. You have Psychic Action Monkeys. If you don't have Psychic Action Monkeys, what are you doing? So having this relic be able to get you a CP is neat, but why? Another one is the Chronos I'm gonna butcher that word apparently. The Chronos Tutorum, and it lets you select a warlord trait during your command phase. So the book is extremely limited on warlord traits. At any given time, you only have access to 7, that being the core 6 of the book, and then the one from the specific cult. And that's assuming you don't run Magnus or Ahriman, who soak up a bunch of those, okay? So not only do you only have access to 7, you already have 1 on your specific warlord. You're likely to also have another one on someone else, because there's a few of them that are definitely useful. The other part is that some of the warlord traits that you want to take, you can't even use. The Cult of Duplicity one for redeploy, it's already passed. Your command phase is already past this point, so you can't redeploy during your command phase. You can't even use it. So I just don't know when you would ever take this relic. Having access to, a different warlord trait, sort of like a sideboard warlord trait, would be really cool, except your access to warlord traits is very limited, and then of the warlord traits you have access to, why not just take them to start? We have really good relics, so it's not like we have open relic slots all over the place. I don't know. Next, we'll talk about the Sears Bane. Sears Bane is a 4-sword / Khopesh swap out, which is not super amazing, but it's better than, it has its upgrades over what it is trying to replace, which is the 4-sworder Khopesh. So the Khopeshes come in at strength 5, AP 3 for 2 damage. The Sears Bane is strength +2, so you're strength 6, AP 4, D3 damage. Now, we're not a fan of D3 damage. I'm not a fan of D3 damage. The stats go even further when you're fighting another psychic unit, so then you go to strength 8, AP 4, D6 damage. Now, if this was D3 +3, that now I'd be super interested, because now it's definitely a Grey Knight's Bane. But even then, with such a swingy damage as D6, it becomes very scary to take it. You roll those ones and you're feeling real bad. The boost in AP is really good. Going up to strength 6, that means if you go with Swelled by the Warp, it goes up to strength 8. So it definitely has its uses. And even though AP 4 seems like a number that, hits into invul saves all the time, that's fine because Tsons can just strip invuls away. So that's not the worst thing in the world either. So you could take this, or you could just take the reliable Khopesh. Just take the Khopesh. It's really good. Right here I have the Pentarchic armor. This is really hard to say. So the pentakill armor is what I have been calling it. The pentakill armor lets you know an additional litany on your Infernal Master, and if you have a problem with me calling it a litany, it's a litany. You know it is. So it lets you know another litany. If that's all it did, this would go straight into the main tier, because you can only still cast a single litany. That's what you're limited to. One litany, no matter what. We don't have a way to get two. Unless you have a second Infernal Master on the field, I guess. Anyway, so the point is you only get one litany. So if you know 3, can only use 1, why would you spend a CP to get that? The reason why this isn't in the meme tier is because what this also does is it gives them the Helix Gauntlet effect, where the first flip of damage they take that gets through a save is ignored. Adding some durability to your Infernal Master, not a bad thing. Is it worth the CP of this relic? I definitely don't think so. Like, you could, but if your Infernal Master is really taking more than one shot every turn, he's probably going to die. And you're probably in a position where you can't protect him anymore. So that's not going to save him against whatever forces your opponent has. After that, we have the Paradoxal Chatterfowl. And this, I am well unprepared. I cannot remember what this does. There we go. Oh, so it reduces a model's weapon. In the start of the fight phase, it reduces, you select an enemy model. It reduces the model's weapon skill, ballistic skill by D3. Super cool. Except it's just a single model. If this was a unit, this would be amazing. Reduce a whole unit's weapon skill, ballistic skill, that's busted as heck. That means that guy's never getting charged, like, unless you have a 2-up. That's super amazing. So, but because it's a single model, chances are it's not going to make, it can make a difference, but it's not going to be the only thing. Not only that, but it can be, there's some play around it. So if you charge in, toe in with a guy that has a chainsword. Your guy with a power fist that he wants to Chatterfowl is a unit behind. Well, it's at the start of the fight phase, so he could be 3 inches away, not get targeted by that, and then come in and get thunder hammered in the face. Come in and get whatever relic weapon, Teeth of Terror, and just get smashed. So, useful, sorta, but because there's some play around it, and because it's a single model, it's not really worth it, in my opinion. So the last one that we have on here is the Exalted Mutation. Now, I actually really like the Exalted Mutation. It's +1 strength, +1 attack, +1 toughness for a sorcerer model, which means your battle sorcerer, your battle psyker that you can take, would go up to strength 5, T5, and have an additional attack. So if you take the battle psyker, he's going to have 6 attacks. Not bad, except it can only go on a sorcerer model, not an exalted sorcerer, because it has to have the sorcerer keyword. And weirdly, exalted sorcerers don't have that. They have the exalted sorcerer keyword. So because it's limited to just your sorcerers, it's sort of a weird position. And then it doesn't quite become worth the CP for it. And then it's also the Cult of Mutation, so you have to be running Cult of Mutation already. So if you're running Cult of Mutation, this probably goes up, but because it's so limited to just the Sorcerer, I don't feel like it's worth it. Alright, so that's the C tier. Moving on to the B tier. Now the B tier has its uses. These are not super amazing, but they have their uses and they have their places, so I could see the argument, I could see the understanding, I can see the logic behind why you're putting this in your list. Okay, so first off, we're going to start with the weapons. We're going to start with the Coruscator Couture. Now this is a bolt pistol, strength 5, AP 3, 2 damage, 3 shots. So it's like a mini Uzi. Pretty neat. It's not super amazing. It does 2 damage flat. If you are running the Orrery, which we'll talk about later, it's definitely pretty solid. I like the Orrery. This is not the worst pistol, especially considering your rubric marines that have bolters or soul reaper cannons or even flamers have their own special thing, and then your infernal master is left with either a warp pistol that's 6 inches or a bolt pistol. It's not great. It's one shot. This is a direct upgrade. This is 3 more shots at a higher strength at double the damage. So the only thing I would mention about this is, 1, it benefits from the Ori. 2, it also benefits from the strat that lets you fire an additional shot from your bolt weapons. So that's pretty interesting. So you can get 4 shots out of this little thing every turn. And then the last thing about it is that it's 18-inch range. So it's further out. So you're actually going to be able to put shots into something instead of having to run up straight and get meleeed in the face. So it's actually pretty useful. It's not the best in the world, but it's not bad. Next up, we have the Incandium. So I actually like the Incandium over what I'm going to talk about next, the next relic, which is Incalladian's Cry. They're both flamer type weapons. The Incandium replaces a Force Staff. Its melee profile stays the same as a Force Staff, which is fine. And then it gets a Strength 5 flamer assault weapon profile as a shooting profile. Now the reason why this is important is because when you take a squad of flamer rubrics, they're all assault, so you can advance and shoot. There's no penalty because flamer auto hits. Well, then your sorcerer advances and has a pistol. You can't shoot. So he just stands there. So if you give him this weapon, he can run up with the rest of his squad and flamer stuff down. And because it's strength 5, if you have a flamer rubric squad, you're probably running Pirate Flux. Put Pirate Flux on the squad. Now it's all strength 5, AP 2, D6 shots for 1 damage. You put Pirate Flux on them, advance them up, put Pirate Flux on them, roll all your shots, do all your damage, quick and easy. Makes that squad super easy to do. Adds damage to a unit that would otherwise not be doing any damage at all. Not bad. Incalladian's Cry. This replaces a Warp Flame pistol, which is why I do not like it as much as the Incandium. And it is also one of the Colt's specific weapons. This one is... where do I have it? This is Cult of Knowledge's pistol. So this is Strength 6, AP 3, 1 damage auto hitting at 12 inches. So it's pretty neat. It's a pistol, so it's not quite as mobile as Incandium, as the Incandium. But Strength 6, AP 3 for D6 shots. It's like a mini Soul Reaper cannon. That's also a pistol, so if you do get stuck in combat, you can just flamer them while you're in combat with them, which is pretty nice. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the Arcane Focus. The Arcane Focus lets you use less caps on a character. You select something within 6 inches, so you can select yourself, and it lets you reduce the number of caps that you use by 1. So if you use a Cabal points are how I refer to as caps. So if you use a Cabal ritual, you reduce the cost of the caps by 1, which is neat. I think the only time you're ever going to be taking this is if you combo it and you take it with the Warlord trait that lets you do more than 1 Cabal point per turn, more than 1 Cabal ritual per turn, because then you're getting 2 Cabal points per turn, which can definitely start to make a difference. And then it also means that you can do it twice, so it gets you double the bonus. So it has some uses, has some combos to get better use out of your Cabal points. Is it super worth auto-taking? Maybe you could build something around it, and maybe I'm just not seeing it. It's pretty good, but it's definitely something you got to work around and figure out how you want to make sure you're getting the most out of it. And so the last one I have here in the B tier is the Capricious Crest. This is also another cult-specific relic. This lets you, once per turn, change either one of your cast dice from a 1 to a 6, or one of your opponent's cast dice from a 6 to a 1. This can be super powerful. especially if you are going second, because it's once per battle round to be able to do this, which can determine if that Grey Knights player is able to Gate of Infinity or Vortex of Doom, or if that the Tzeentch chicken comes in and blows up your entire squad of rubrics with a single spell. Whatever the case is, it can be very useful. You have to be going against another psychic army for it to have its impact. So, as a lot of people are taking Psykers out so they don't get Wrath of Magnus, or so that they can take Abhor the Witch, especially against like Grey Knights. This is useful, but it's going to have diminishing returns depending on your local meta. Now we're going to go on to the A tier. Now these are all good. These are all solid relics that you definitely want to consider taking in each of your lists for different reasons. I'm going to start with something that I thought was B tier until I was looking at it and really inspected it a little bit. I'm going to talk about the Prism of Echoes. The Prism of Echoes lets you double the range on any of your blessing spells. So your Presage, your Weaver of Fates, your Glamour of Tzeentch, any of your spells that buff your units, as a defensive buff especially, are all about 12 to 18 inch range. And to be able to double that from a single location, that means you could pop this on your Sorcerer, just a base Sorcerer. He's not nearly as mobile as the Exalted. Move him 6 inches, and now his range is 30 inches to get your spells wherever you need it to go. That is definitely not bad. 30 inches, even on this map, is almost the entire map. You put a model on your side in the center, 30 inches is going to cover your half of the board. It's a pretty solid relic. Being able to do that from all over the place, any of your buffing spells almost never need line of sight. So even if they're behind walls, you just send Presage, you send Weaver, you send Glamour, whatever it is you want that unit to have, you send it from 30 inches away, which also means you can't be denied. You're super far away. You can't deny me if you're so far away. Really solid. Next one I'm going to talk about is the Oracule Brazier. I like this a lot. This is probably more of a B tier relic, but I like this Brazier a lot. It gives you, it turns off rerolls against the bearer. So if you have a Smash Sorcerer that you don't want to die every time to whoever's got rerolls, because rerolls are just such force multipliers. You put this on them, boom, now they're like a mini Morty. No rerolls, all the shots, all the hits. Combo this up. You can pull some defensive combos up with this. This is super cool. Super nifty. Pretty unique too. There's not that many things that shut off all rerolls against you. And if you want to know how important turning off rerolls is for shooting, look at Bellicor. That's like half his durability is to not be able to have rerolls in against his shooting. It's really pretty dang solid. Okay. Next, I have the Warpweave Mantle. Now, the Warpweave Mantle lets you have this ability that if someone rolls a 9+ to charge you, the charge fails. So let's get that straight. If they roll a 9 or better, they fail their charge. So even if you're 1 inch away and they roll a 9 or 10, 11, 12, they fail their charge. That is so amazing. That can change games so quickly just by itself. That is super cool. Not only that, but with some positioning shenanigans, there's one of the Warlord traits lets you move 6 inches whenever you're declared the target of a charge. So you can move into a range where they cannot charge you. Move 6 inches away. So unless they're right up in your face, where 6 inch, where they have a 1 inch charge, you can move to a position where they have this very small window that actually works. You got to be careful when you're using it though, because it is a unmodified 9 inch charge. So if they're running, for example, the Space Marine Chaplain that has a +2 charge, that's going to get around it, because they're going to roll a 6, roll a 7, +2 to 9. So you need to be careful and watch out for that. But it does mean that if you are 11 inches away, you're practically unchargeable. You got to make sure you're paying attention to people's bonuses. Cult of Strife has a +1 to charge thing. Got to make sure you're watching out for that. But other than that, it's pretty good. We're going to go next to the Conniving Plate, which I'm pretty sure everyone is well aware about. Get a 2+ armor and half the number of attacks can be allotted to you. They did FAQ it so that it rounds up. Less good, but still very solid. First off, having a 2-up armor, just being in Terminator armor on your Demon Prince usually is really useful. Adds a ton to his durability. Half the number of attacks that come in. Cuts those guys down from 6 attacks each, which is becoming a very paramount thing, to 3. So instead of facing 5 guys at 5 attacks, 25, you're facing 15. Much more reasonable. This next relic is a Disc of Tzeentch replacement. So I like this. I can't pronounce it. It's Thridid. I can't pronounce it. I'm not trying. So the Thridid is a Disc of Tzeentch replacement relic. It lets you fall back, shoot, cast, and charge, which is already pretty dang good. Now, what it also does is it lets you consolidate 6 inches in any direction after you fight. That means that if you get charged and you interrupt, you can just get out of dodge. You're gone. Deuces. If you want to just slap some damage in, charge in, slap damage, 6 inches back. Pretty dang good. Really nice. There's a bunch of different combos involved with this. Fallback and cast is amazing. There's not a fallback and cast in the game. There is teleport away and cast. There is not a fallback and cast in the game that I'm aware of. It's really good, really solid. Definitely consider taking it if you can fit it into what you got going on. I also have here the Chalice Theorem. These names are hard to pronounce. Look at the book. They're pronounced super weird. This auto-reses your character. This Necrons eat your heart out. This automatically reses your character after they die after the phase. Celestine rolls, nope, don't care. Just get up, get back to fighting, get back to casting, get to whatever you need to do. So that means they need to kill you in a phase earlier than the charge phase and charge you to kill you in one round. Slap this on someone that's already pretty tanky, someone in Terminator armor, someone with a 4-up invul. You're looking at some pain to bring it down. Really good. The last one here in the A tier is Hourglass of Manat. So the Hourglass of Manat is Moment Shackle. Lets you get 2 CP, 3 CP, whatever the case is, gets you your CP. This is super good. 3 CP to reduce damage on your Scarab Cult Terminator brick from 3 damage down to 1. I'm sorry, from 3 CP to free for a full squad. Really solid. That's where the money's at. It's really good. Definitely worth considering taking, especially if you are the cult that takes it, which is, where are you at? That's Cult of Scheming. So if you're taking Cult of Scheming, take the Hourglass of Manat. Really good. Okay. Now, if you have been paying attention and going through the counts, there's one that, there's a couple that I haven't talked about, because these are S tier relics. These 3 relics are either auto takes or something you need to consider in your game, in your list building every single time. So the first one that we have here is the bottom of the tier, of the S tier, is Egglehand's Orrery. I'm just going to call it Eggman's Ori. So this thing is, during your command phase, you select a unit that you can see. And then it creates a bubble around that character that did this. So your Exalted Champion, your Exalted Sorcerer, at the start of your command phase, you select something that it can see. does not have a range requirement at all. That unit, it creates a 6-inch aura around your Exalted. Any core units in that bubble ignore weapon skill modifiers, ballistic skill modifiers, hit roll modifiers, wound roll modifiers. It also means they ignore the damage reduction of that model. So that Contemptor Relic, that is super popular in the meta. No more damage reduction. You're doing pure damage to it. The negative of this is that this army does not have a lot of multi-damage weapons at range. They have, especially that are core. They have Hellbrutes and Contemptor Dreads. But they also have Scarab Terminator missile racks. Being able to ignore -1 to hit, super good. Being able to ignore dense terrain, super good. Being able to ignore Bellacor's -2 wound at range, super good. There are so many armies that have defensive buffs that this gets around. So this doesn't get around Transhuman. This doesn't get around Take Cover in the where people get additional armor. That's about it. Transhuman's not a modifier roll, but any of the other minuses, it pretty much ignores them. It is really good to be able to just reliably just have your units that are in that bubble shoot at what they're going at. We hit on 3s, which is solid. If you have a unit that's presaged up, that means they're hitting on 2s, probably rerolling 1s because they're all core to receive the benefit of this. This is super good to just be like, oh cool, you have defensive rules. I ignore them. Super amazing. Right above that is the Umbralific Crystal or Dark Matter Crystal, whichever generation you come from. So if you don't know what this does, this is during your command phase. You select a unit within 6 inches and you remove them from the board. And then during your reinforcement step, you deep strike them. Super amazing. Being able to teleport your 10-man Scarab Terminator squad turn 1 to a position to light up a flank, to totally collapse it, very good. Being able to do that turn 1 with a break of 10 Flamer Rubrics without having to pay the 2 CP to launch them forward, super good. Being able to teleport out of combat and light up the unit that just charged you, super good. This is one of those relics that has so many uses in so many armies, no matter what your playstyle. To have it not be an S tier would be remiss. It's very good. I don't like it personally because I run Cult of Duplicity and I can do that anyway, but that's something for a different time. Now, this last relic, this is the very last relic in all of the relics that we have in the book. If I missed one, feel free to yell at me. I think I included everything here. I did this 5 different times. I wrote 6 different scripts, and I decided I hate writing scripts, so I'm just going to freehand these. The last relic we have here is the Athenian Scrolls. Athenian Scrolls, when you go to cast your spells, you don't even pay a CP. You select one of your spells that you know. Has to be from your 2 disciplines, so it can't be your cult specific spell, but that's fine. And you cast that spell on a 3d6, drop whichever one you want. That's super good for the rest of the game. Just 3d6 cast on a spell for all of the game. You need to make sure that you're temporal surging every turn. Cool, temporal surge on 3d6. Oh, I perils. I rolled 2 6s and a 5. 2 6s and a 3. 2 6s and a 2. That's fine. Take away one of those 6s. I rolled it on an 8. Ignore that perils. I rolled double 1 and a 4. Alright, the spell might not go off, but 1 and 4 is not a perils. This is super good. Super solid. Super worth it. Definitely worth your consideration. The best part about this thing is that it goes in every single list. There's not a list that cannot benefit from this, which is why it is my S+ tier auto take relic of the Codex. Umbralific Crystal, if you're Cult of Duplicity, you don't need this. Eglinhen's Orrery, if you're running Scarab Cult Terminators and no Halberds, no Dreadnoughts, nothing that's going to benefit from it, don't take this. If you're running Mutilith Vortex Beasts and Mauler Fiends, you're not going to use this. So there are situations where those two are not useful, even though they are super strong. Athenian Scrolls is an auto take in every single list. Fight me. Tell me a reason why you wouldn't take this relic. Is it worth the CP? It's worth a CP reroll. At the very least, it'll save you a CP reroll through the entire game. This is an auto take relic in every single list, which is why it's the S plus tier relic. I personally use it on my Exalted Sorcerer. I like to have him on a disc, and even no Warlord trait, doesn't matter. Give him this Rahadi so you can cast 3. Tzeentch's Firestorm and Temporal Surge. Run up, Tzeentch's Firestorm, nuke something off the map, smite, do more damage, Temporal Surge, add a dodge. Tzeentch's Firestorm has another benefit for you, by the way. If you roll it on a natural 9 or higher, you get to do mortal wounds. So let me explain Tzeentch's Firestorm, since I'm going back this far. Tzeentch's Firestorm has a warp charge of 6, and if you cast it, you roll 9 dice, and on 6s you do a mortal wound. Now average on 9 dice to roll a 6 is 1.5. Now if you use Tzeentch's Firestorm and you cast it on a natural 9 or higher, that means you need to roll a 9, because it says unmodified. So if you roll it on a 9 or higher, you get to do it on 5s and 6s, which goes to 3 mortal wounds. Now the reason why this is so important is because this is not a select the closest. This is a select one within 18. This is a sniping spell. So that character that's behind the units do 3 mortal wounds on average when you cast it on a 9. Cool, he's alive on 1, which there's a lot of 4 and 5 wound characters out there. Neat. Spend Cabal points, boost it. Now you did 5 mortal wounds on a sniping spell. That's super good. Those Sacrosants that are 4 ranks in that you have no shots on, hop over a wall, snipe them down, jump back over. No more Sacrosants. They all die. 1 mortal wound gets rid of Sacrosants. Super good. If you can, as long as you can see them, but if they're within range, they're gone. Super amazing. Now, putting it on a character that Temporal Surges away, that's just the way I do it. You could definitely Temporal Surge from a distance to get them away as well. But having it all in one character where that's his job, that's the way I roll it. And the Athenian Scrolls, any of your combos that rely on your spells, any of them, all of them, this can definitely benefit every single one of them. So that's my take on the relics. It's all 27 of them. I need to work on my enunciation. So tell me what you think in the comments. Let me know what's been working for you, what you like, what you don't like, what you think I'm wrong about. And if you like this, I've been playing a lot of Thousand Suns. I think I already have close to 15 games in. And I'm starting to run them in a couple different leagues. I'm running them in an online TTS Alpha League and stuff like that. And I'm trying to see what works. And I'm trying out different cults and different spells, different combinations. I'm going to be trying a very Dreadnought heavy list coming up. Going to be 2 Halberds, 2 Contemptor Dreads, and the Orrery with the Demon Prince, which I'm not so sure the Demon Prince is worth it, but I feel having the melee punch is going to be pretty nice. So we'll see how it goes. So if you like this video, let me know. If you don't, yell at me. And until next time, peace.